it was a great time to evaluate where you sat as far as life goes. You can go, do I really love doing martial arts? Do I love teaching? Do I love turning up and doing all of this? It was the perfect opportunity for some people in the world to go, you know what, I'm going to actually jump out of this because it's not actually something I enjoy doing anymore. But for me, it actually made me assess the other way and go, I love this so much, I've got to keep this going. I will turn over every rock to find a way to make this keep happening.
Thank you for tuning into the show. Whether you are watching this on martialartsmedia.com or on YouTube, or listening while on the move on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher, this is the Martial Arts Media Business Podcast. My name is George Fourie, and on this show we interview top martial arts school owners, share success stories, share martial arts stories from great martial arts experts, and then we talk about lead generation and marketing strategies in between. So a quick heads up before we jump into the show. I just wanted to make sure that you are already part of our Martial Arts Media business community. It is our free Facebook group where we hang out every day. We talk about lead generation, marketing, and all things martial arts. You can jump in by either clicking a link close to this video or go to martialartsmedia.group. So not martialartsmedia.com, just martialartsmedia.group. That'll take you there. That's the best place for you to go after the show. We are in there every day, and there's a bunch of free resources that we have already uploaded into the group. Things about how to attract the right students, how to increase your sign-up base, how to retain more members, etc. So jump into the show. I will catch you in the group once the show is done. Enjoy. I'll speak to you soon. Hey everyone, this is George Fourie from martialartsmedia.com, and welcome to another Martial Arts Media Business Podcast. So I have with me today someone that I speak to quite regularly within our Partners program, great martial artist, great school owner, Brett Fenton from Red Dragon Martial Arts. How are you doing today, Brett?
I'm awesome, George. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. And so a little bit of a insight. This is round 2, but round 1. So
correct.
We actually did a podcast. Well, it would be good 6 months ago.
Ooh,
yeah, good
absolutely.
6 months ago. And I had my laptop stolen, unfortunately, and there were 2 files that did not upload into the cloud, and one of them was Brett's podcast. So it's been a long time in the making. Lots of change in the world, but here we are.
Absolutely. It'll be a big, different environment now.
Exactly. So we can chat a bit about that. But first up, just for anyone who doesn't know who you are, just give us a bit of a roundup, who you are, what you do, and a bit of your background.
Absolutely. Thanks, George. Lifetime martial artist. I've been training since I was a kid, jumped around different styles depending on which family member taught it to me or friend. Didn't have a lot of money as a kid, so I latched on to anyone that knew any martial arts and basically got it for free as a kid. Moved to Brisbane in the late 80s and basically started training with my still Sifu Tom Lowe for the last 30 years. Trained with him in Wing Chun, Jiaoga Kung Fu, Wu style Tai Chi, funnily enough, because he thought I was an angry young teenager that needed some calming down. So he taught me that. Later on, taught me traditional lion and dragon dancing. So I did all the whole Chinese culture, immersed myself in their culture for a very long time. Lived over near Sunnybank for a long time as well. Then obviously went down the route of when the UFC came out, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with John Will. Trained and travelled overseas a lot. Started with the extreme martial arts in the mid to late 90s and 2000s, and started bringing that out probably late 2000s. Started teaching that, and Kali Estremo with Ray Floro. So I've just basically gone on this journey of trying to find the very best martial arts to suit me. And funnily enough, along the way, a lot of other people that I've taught have gone, that's cool, I want to learn it. And so now we have over 400 students. We run nearly 100 classes a week, full-time facility with multiple rooms. But we started in 97 in a community hall. So we've done the usual kind of thing for most professional martial arts instructors, community hall to full-time school over about 23 years. And that's pretty much my story. So that's all I keep doing today.
Perfect. So you were mentioning you were on the search for the perfect martial arts for you. Now, working with you, from my perspective, you're a guy that you just jump in head on into different directions, and you're pretty quick to take action, but also get in front of what is going on with whatever you take on. So for you that you've done all these styles and done all these different things, what's sort of the martial arts that resonates with you the most then?
I get asked that question quite a lot, especially by my students. Go, which is my favorite? They always go, Sifu, what's your favorite style? I go, it's like asking which is your favorite child. Depends on the day and the time. So depends on which one's upsetting you the most. I still train. I love my Kung Fu because I grew up in the Bruce Lee era. So for me, it's still a big part of who I am. But I also love the nuances and the complexities of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I find I just like only just watching UFC yesterday and just watching two high-level Jiu-Jitsu guys in a cage, like throwing crazy control, like twisters and stuff in an octagon. And that was like exciting. So I still find that exciting. I love hanging out with, chatting with my coaches like John Will. He's a wealth of knowledge that I love to just chat to all the time. And so just that kind of stuff is really exciting. I love blades. I had my first knife when I was 6 years old. So, and I've got a collection, probably not as good as Ray Flores' collection, but I have a pretty good collection of knives that I've got given to me over the years by students or family and friends. So I've always loved any kind of bladed weapon. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm fully immersed in it. I gave up being a top-level sportsman in tennis, cricket, volleyball, to just pursue martial arts. And that was hard as a 20 to 22-year-old. I could have gone down that route. Martial arts was just such a pull for me that I prefer myself, as far as the martial arts goes, preferred myself as a person when I was doing martial arts than I did as an athlete. In other sports and stuff. So I went down that road fairly early on as a young adult male, and it's paid off because this is all I do for a living now.
Gotcha. So quick backstory on how you transitioned to where you are at with your school and everything, and then we can take on a bit more of a conversation just on current matters, the current climate, and how you're navigating through that. So what was you stepped into martial arts? What was the transition for you? Going into school owner, you mentioned from the school hall, etc. Elaborate a bit more on that.
Yep, no worries. So started with my Sifu at the moment in 1989. Started doing Wing Chun, then later on, about a year or so later, Jiao Ga Kung Fu, and then the Tai Chi. Early on, he probably recognised that I had a passion for passing on knowledge. I probably did it just organically with my classmates. Like when I saw someone having an issue with learning something, I would always go over and help them. And so it was very early on that I found myself up the front doing the warm-ups, probably within a year or so. And then after that, running small groups classes. And we actually had a very big martial arts school for the time back in the early 90s, 10 schools, like all satellite schools around Brisbane, running 1 or 2 nights a week in community halls with hundreds of students. And so for me, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I would literally drive from one school. I'd finish teaching. This is like probably 1992. I would finish teaching at our Intrapilli headquarters at 7:30 or whatever, and then I'd drive into the city, to the YMCA in the city, and teach a class there at 8:30, finish at 9:30, and then probably head out to Jindalee All Sports and do a weight session. And so for me, 6-7 days a week of martial arts training and weight training and fitness training was normal. I didn't think of it as anything special. I was just completely wrapped up in the whole thing. So that led me to running my own school in 94, like one of his branches, was quite successful at that. Then I moved up towards the Sunshine Coast and opened up my school in 1997, and we've been running that one ever since. It obviously has evolved and grown since then.
Gotcha. Okay, so quite a story. Now, I mean, things have dramatically changed. Obviously, talking, depending on when you listen to this podcast, but I think it's important to just address the current situation of where things are at, because I think anyone in the world has never faced anything like now. And some people have obviously, really felt the pressure and also not, kind of went into freeze mode and didn't take any action. And others have really sort of embraced the change as much as possible, to really get through this pandemic that we're facing right now. So walk me through just how's it been for you, and what have you done to navigate through this?
Absolutely. Thanks, George. One of the biggest things I think was that I noticed is a great time to evaluate where you sat as far as life goes. You can go do I really love doing martial arts? Do I love teaching? Do I love turning up and doing all of this? Here was the perfect opportunity for some people in the world to go, you know what, I'm going to actually jump out of this because it's not actually something I enjoy doing anymore. But for me, it actually made me assess the other way and go, I love this so much, I've got to keep this going. I will turn over every rock to find a way to make this keep happening. We started like on March 23rd. We were given information, which was a week ahead of what I thought the schedule was going to be, of when we were going to be told to basically close down physical training. So I know that I was chatting with you leading up to that, saying we're going to set up Zoom classes, and we'd already were thinking that way. And overnight it happened. And so within 24 hours, I had to go from being on this side of the camera where I would sit and have, obviously, conversations with you and our partners, and I was the person watching, I was being the viewer most of the time, to actually steering the ship on the other side of Zoom. And so 24 hours of educating myself on how Zoom worked, creating like breakout rooms and doing all of that. And we were up and running the very next night with our full Zoom classes, with everything still running, same timetable. And yeah, for me, I reveled in that excitement. So like I like being challenged. I like being out of my comfort zone. I sometimes get stressed out by doing it, and I know that meditating is good for that, and I do that every day. But I get excited when it's kind of like ice skating. I found that very exciting and challenging, stressful but exciting. So for me, I was all up for that. I still am. Like, I'm always thinking ahead, a week or two ahead, going, all right, this is what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks, and I'm already planning. It goes into my calendar. These are the things I need to do. And I know that you see on a Monday, when you ask every single Monday and partners, what's your plans for the week? I already know what it is, so I just type it straight in. So I already know what my plan is for the week. So and I go ahead and execute it. And that's just what I do.
Yeah. Personally, I think entrepreneurs were made for this. I mean, that's what we do, right? We solve problems. And interesting that you mentioned, where a lot of people jump ship. Maybe it was just the easy way out. I think it also, it really, like you were saying, it really makes you think deeper. Like, is this what I really want? And I think that's where, if people have been following a niche or, been trying to make money in an industry or something, and you didn't have that gut check before you started, and you were just hoping to make financial gains, which is, hey, it's obviously that's okay as well, because that's what, people do in business. But it's a good time to reevaluate and really sit back and think, okay, well, is this what I really want? And then how to go from that. Now, how do you see this playing out? I guess, at the time of recording this, where you're at in Queensland, there's been some restrictions lifted. I know in Perth, we can, there's already gyms are training outside, restriction of up to 10 people. That's moving over, I think, next week. So what's the plans for you? Where do you see this evolving?
Absolutely, yeah. One of the things that I've noticed, like we've got a week and then we go to having 10 people in an outdoor space. So we can do, I suppose, boot camps or outdoor classes. The biggest issue for us is that most of our classes are at night and it's winter. So once we hit 5 o'clock, it's going to be too dark to do classes. So in fairness to everyone that trains in our school, we can't fit everyone into their classes. We'll get the 3 to 6 year olds done, and then everyone else wouldn't be able to. So we're going to continue to run our Zoom classes, but we're bringing our instructor team now into the school, because up until now, we've only been allowed to have 2 people in a building. And when we run 2 floors, 3 instructors to a floor, it's a little bit hard to do that. So, but now we can do that. We have multiple cameras, multiple laptops going, multiple TVs going. So, and that'll allow us to use our breakout rooms to break everyone into small classes. It'll actually be probably easier because they actually be able to verbally tell each other when they need to move people from one breakout room to another. At the moment, we'd be messaging each other. Can you move such and such over to me? I'm teaching them to do this, and I have to sit there and pretty much just be a DJ. So it's my job's on Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes is I'm DJing the whole Zoom classes, and I'm shuffling people around. It's a interesting time, and I saw in the US just the other day because they've lifted restrictions now a little bit there. and they said, "What? We're not doing Zoom gradings now. We're not doing our virtual grading. We're going to do them in person." And there was actually quite a bit of backlash about that because people aren't ready for such a quick change. And so we're going to keep our gradings going this weekend. We've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday scheduled for 50 plus gradings. They're all private one-on-one gradings that I'm doing. And because, again, we can't change people quickly. Like, I know I can change quickly because obviously we've got that entrepreneurial kind of spirit thing going on. But for most people, it's going to take a lead in of a month to see any kind of changes. And we have to plan that for them and slowly bring them up to the boil. And so having them watch Zoom classes while we're teaching back in the school starts to build that familiarity with the students to see the school again. They start getting excited about doing it. We started booking in our Calendly bookings started on Saturday. So straight away, as soon as that notice went through from our Premier, I created calendars for all of our classes to allow 10 people to come in from June. So June 12th, we are allowed to have 20 people in the building. And we're allowed, so that basically means 10 people in each room. And so we've done a booking for our entire timetable. And I literally on Saturday night watched my phone do 200 and something emails while people booked in for their classes. So they're excited, and it gives them a month to get themselves sorted out. We've got to set up all of our stations for sanitary stations, our signage, all of that stuff. We've got to get our processes in place so that we are above and beyond the call of duty as far as what we implement when June 12th comes along. We want to make sure that we're one of the, I suppose, the spearheads of that, and we showcase how to do this the right way. So it's very important.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, right? I mean, if you ever thought your processes were in place, now your processes just change after every Premier announcement. It's new systems, It's new things. Interesting things that I see. I think where a lot of guys might find it challenging, where people just shut shop and thought that everything would go back to normal. Well, I don't know about you, but I sincerely doubt that. And you were just mentioning that. I mean, there's been this whole behavior. People have adapted their behavior. There was shock and there was fear and there was all this. And yep, things are going to slowly return back to normal. But what is that? Is that does that mean 100% physical classes? Does that mean a bit of a hybrid and a balance of there's online and there's physical? And how do you see this playing out? And then another thing that I want to really ask you is how are you managing with your team throughout this? Because I know you've got a large team, and how are you managing them and getting them to have this right mindset with all the changes? I know that's two questions, but yeah.
That's okay. No worries. So again, it's one of those things you've got to go slowly. I think that we're lucky. We've been reasonably lucky in Australia that they've given us plenty of lead in time and they've planned this fairly well. There's no knee-jerk reactions, which is good because people don't react well to that. They don't. Like we saw when they released a little bit of the rope and allowed people to go shopping, it was literally Boxing Day sales every day for the last 2 weeks since they did that. So people they've been cooped up for so long, now they're exploding. So we're trying to make sure that we're over communicating with all of our students to make sure that they understand that there is a limit of how many people can come in. And if you do not book in, you'll still be doing the online classes. We're going to give them both. And my idea is to keep doing that even beyond like let's say 6-12 months to still be running that system, because we have students that have they're on the spectrum, ADD, ADHD, autism, doesn't matter, Asperger's, where they don't like being around people, but they love martial arts and they love the benefits of martial arts. And so they'll be able to still do it from home with Zoom. The hardest part is to train the staff and the instructors to not just focus on the class, the physical class they're teaching and the physical students they're teaching, but also to focus on the ones that are up on the TV doing the Zoom class. And so we've got massive TVs that are going up in each room where they'll be able to look up and just see who's up there training. And it's just about teaching them to not forget about them. They've had to undergo a very big learning curve, and most of them aren't entrepreneurial. So some of them are. They do their own little side gigs as well. But to most, this is like overwhelming most of the time to them. So some of my team haven't been able to teach online classes because they don't like looking at themselves on a camera and they don't like being in that environment. And so basically we'd put them into hibernation. We keep contact with them, make sure they're okay. But I've already spoken to one, and as soon as we can go back, we're going to start doing Sunday classes, and we expect it to be quiet. So she's the perfect person for that because it'll introduce her back into normal classes, and she'll just do the Saturday, Sunday classes and give her a role back in the school without putting her under too much pressure. So, and again, most of our instructors are all students. They've all gone through from white belt to black belt. They're homegrown, and so we treat them still like they're students as far as the way we kind of bring them into new situations like we're experiencing at the moment. But slowly does it is, I think, the key.
Cool. So was there a situation that you actually navigated someone through that? Because that obviously brings up a lot of some beliefs and, guess blocks for people where they, hang on, I don't feel comfortable being in front of a camera. For some people, they might just be that introverted personality and they're just never going to be that. And, that's, we're all different. That's all good. But was there a situation that you actually managed to navigate someone past that and just say, hey, look, well, it's kind of just like having a conversation. It's not a Hollywood show, it's like you're doing a normal class, but you've just got this screen in front of you. Did you manage to navigate past that? Or was there anybody in your staff that they were struggling with that, but you managed to push them past that point?
Well, we've had, obviously, with our team, they've gone through a gamut of emotions. For a lot of them, their first biggest worry was, I'm going to lose my job. So a lot of our instructors not just work for me, they work for other businesses. And on that day, the other ones shut them down. They basically went, no, we can't keep going. I kept going, even though they were teaching from their living rooms or their bedrooms or their garages. They kept going. I kept paying them for their classes, and I tried to maintain as much normality for them and reassure them that we will get through this, looking to the future and saying that when we get through this, we're not going to change what we do now. This is just a different version of what we do. And so 90% of our teams were teaching through this, and one actually seemed to prefer it because the whole social distancing was doing her head in, trying to stop children from touching each other, and it just frustrated her. As soon as it went to the virtual environment, she didn't have to worry about that. That was not a problem and an anxiety she had to experience anymore. So that actually was like, she was happy when it happened. So she's going to have to prepare for the other side now as we come back in, and whether that means that she still teaches from home via the Zoom and she does all the Zoom kids, that's fine. And we have that ability to have them teaching if they're not happy to be in here and be around students because they're worried about it. They can still be able to teach because we'll still have students at home doing Zoom, and so they'll be able to take care of the Zoom students. And so again, I think it's about being flexible. It's about being able to ebb and flow with the times. And I think one of the things that I think everyone probably particularly in the business world now will quantify is that small businesses have been had an advantage because we've been able to chop and change directions quickly with the times. With whatever we were given, we could change and adapt. Whereas a lot of the big businesses fell over because they had certain systems and procedures. They end up having to just cull their staff, and that's why so many people are out of work. And it's from the big businesses, which I know, like in an Australia kind of mindset, is they're always considered safe. Go work for a blue chip company or a big business. We wouldn't want to work for Virgin at the moment. You wouldn't want to work for a lot of those big companies because they couldn't adapt. They're just too big. They're like the Titanic. Whereas a lot of the small businesses, we could zig and zag and not feel that pain as much, and also be able to connect with our staff and our team to make sure that they're feeling okay and navigate them through this minefield of emotions and turmoil that they could be experiencing. So, but I think we've done really well. I'm proud of my team. They've handled it really well. So, and we're preparing now to go back into semi-normal classes, and then in another month's time after that. So July, it should be mostly like we were before we went into lockdown, 100 to a building, like just mostly social distancing. But I think this will play out till the end of the year. I think by Christmas we might be able to high five and hug some people.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to you, because I know you've just been onto it, and every day we chat, you've implemented this and you've jumped into a new direction, implemented new strategies, and really taken it on. What are you excited about coming in the next? I know excitement's for a lot of people. It's like when I ask that, they're like,
"Is fear?
Wow, what does that word mean?" But yeah. I mean, if you really, put the opportunity hat on and really look at it, okay, things have changed, things have shifted. Like, what are you excited about in the next coming weeks?
Well, again, I've tried to maintain. I actually turned one of my students who wanted to do a in-person grading, and they said they don't want to do a Zoom one. It's not like a real grading. And I said, well, no, it's not the same as an in-person grading. It's different. It could actually potentially be better because you're doing it one-on-one. Now, it's going to be a different feel. We may never get to do this again. This may be the only time in history where we do every single person in the school is a Zoom grading. So, and that's the truth. It's basically may never happen again. So for me, that's exciting. I'm pulled out all stops to make this grading the most spectacular grading that they'll ever experience virtually, because it may never happen again. So I'm excited to do that. Literally from this Thursday, was Monday today. So from Thursday, from 7 a.m. till about 7 p.m., Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I am doing our grading every 30 minutes. And I know how exhausting that's going to be, but I also find that exciting. And I'm a big fan, I'm a podcast savant. I just go and listen to podcasts 24/7. It's my favorite thing. I don't listen to radio, but that's what I listen to. And it used to be tapes in my car, then it was CDs, now it's podcasts. And so always been a big fan of Tony Robbins, lucky enough to have done some training with him, done UPW and a few other things with him. And one of the things that he always talks about is to the professionals, like the professional athlete or a professional entrepreneur, when they see something that could be scary, fearful, they look at the same thing and they look at it as excitement, because your body goes through exactly the same chemicals, endorphins, okay, the adrenaline. It's exactly the same thing as fear. If you looked at it side by side, okay, anyone that's ever fought in the ring or competed in a jiu-jitsu tournament or done MMA or just been up in front of someone to do a grading, you got two options: fear, which is, I'm going to stuff this up, or I'm going to get hurt, or I'm no good at this, to exciting, I can't wait, this is so cool. Exactly the same experience. It's the outcome that's different. And so for most martial artists, I think most should have done pretty well through this. If they've got that kind of background, they would have gone, wow, this is exciting. This is just like another competition. This is another chance to show my skill, to really challenge myself. Because I think if any industry was really prepared for this, it'd be the martial arts industry, because that's what we do. We we live for the challenge. That's all we like. That's what makes us different. Most normal people can't understand martial artists. They look at it and go, so you enjoy punching each other and choking each other out, and really, it's that's not normal behavior. And so that's kind of set us, I think, apart from everybody else in the world who's freaking out and putting their head under the doona, as ScoMo likes to say. So and I think we're well prepared for that. And for me, I'm excited to do literally I'll be doing a 65, 70 hour week this week, and 60 of those hours is in 4 days. So it's insane, but I'm up for that. I love that stuff.
Yeah, cool. So if you don't mind, before we finish up, and I think this would be really valuable for other school owners, can you walk us through what are you actually doing with your virtual grading? How's the day going to plan out? What have you done prior? And how's the whole process going to roll out?
Yep. So similar setup to what we would normally do with the grading. And here's another thing that's one of the things that I'm looking at, it's positive coming out of the COVID-19 thing, is that we now have some new systems that we never had before. So everyone that ever wanted to have their curriculums online and available to their students, and we're struggling with getting whether it's IT departments of your website developers to actually pull the trigger and do it, they all jumped to it the night this happened. Like within 2 days, you had all of the ability to do this. And so that was a benefit. Being able to schedule all of our gradings on Calendly. Like, I know I can just look at my Calendly now, and it is literally 200 plus appointments long. It's just like this big list, but I know who's next. And my Zoom, all our Zoom gradings, they all have their own unique code. All I have to do is click on their next. I click, and it brings me to the next Zoom invitation, and I'm ready to grade them on my laptop right here while I'm like right where I am now. This is exactly where I'll be Thursday through to Sunday. I will shift from one room to the other depending on the grading. And basically, one of the other things I'm doing that's pretty cool is we've over delivered, which I think is really important. So every student normally only gets a certificate and a belt. This time they're getting a backpack with a certificate, their belt, a bumper sticker, and a gift. So there's probably $200 worth of value in there for a $50 grading. So they're going to see that. We're also developing a virtual certificate that pops up on their screen saying, congratulations, you've passed your virtual grading, and that'll be branded, but it will look really space-agey, kind of like very new-looking, sparkly kind of, I don't know. I'm letting the design team do that at our printers to do that, so he's designing that this week. And everyone's coming in to pick up their backpacks. So every 15 minutes, they're picking up a backpack. We're videoing the whole process, and we're going to do a video at the end where it basically just like crunches it into a little, probably 3-minute sped up version. Like, what do they call those videos?
Time-lapse.
Time-lapse, that's it. Yeah, we're going to do a time-lapse video. So from the 4 days to show it with a soundtrack behind it. So that's something cool. I'm also photographing myself this Wednesday in front of all the logos. So in front of the school, so we're basically here with all the different uniforms that I wear for all the different styles. So we've got 7 different martial arts styles in the school. So I'm going to be basically getting changed, doing a new photo with a plain background, with this background, sorry. And then every single student, when they grade, there's going to be a list inside their backpack of all the things they have to do. So they have to take a photo of themselves with their new belt on, their new certificate, with a plain background. So like white, yellow, as long as it's not dark, so a nice clear background, then send the photo to me. I'll then superimpose that into the photo next to me on the wall back, and then post that onto our Facebook page. And so it will be like they were there. So we're just going to make this virtual because, again, it's a virtual grading. So we can use Photoshop and make it look cool in a virtual world. Everyone's been loving the Zoom backgrounds that create their own. I've got a few that I used the Matrix Dojo in one of my classes one day. Everyone over the age of 30 thought that was cool. Everyone else was going, "Oh, that's a nice dojo." Yeah, exactly. I had no idea what it was. But, and again, it's about building hype and excitement around something that they may never ever experience ever again. And one of the things I've been talking to the parents is that a lot of people under the age of 25 have never, ever, ever experienced any kind of thing like this, where like any kind of hardship. They've been pretty cruisy for the last 25 years as far as the world economy and the way the world's gone. No big wars. It's been pretty good. Okay, since 9/11, it's been pretty cruisy. So this is really something that's bonded the whole world together, an experience that everyone's gone through. So let's make something out of it. Let's come out of it and say, what did I get out of doing that? Did I get better at my relationships? Did I get better at learning new tools and skills? Or did I just watch Netflix for 12 hours a day? so what did you do with it? And so it'll be an interesting, next year will be an interesting year to see what tools do people get and where do they take those tools. Like for us, I want to go VR. I want to put VR goggles on students in the home environment so they're part of this class that we run here. So if this leads us down the road to that, then I'm happy because I was already thinking about it 2 years ago as adding it to my already system. So because I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk and I've spent some time with him and he's like keen to get VR up and running. So I'm like, cool, I'll look into that at some stage. So watch this space.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And that's the thing. If anybody thinks this is a phase, nope, it's just the stepping stone because it's brought this. It's funny, I've been doing these Zoom webinars about 3 to 5 a week for a long time. And inviting anyone to a Zoom meeting was always a weird thing. This Sunday, my 2-year-old daughter, we're having a Zoom party because that's all we can do, right? But it's brought a lot of these technology things. It's just accelerated the normality of it, and people are just really, it's had to step into it. So it was that or nothing. And now that everybody's so accustomed to it, it's definitely not going away. This is leading to the next thing. And if you think of, I had a chat with someone about virtual reality the other day, and she was showing me what they were doing in the mining, automated mining industry. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. It's taking objects and putting it in the lounge, and you can walk around it. It's like a whole new experience. Now, martial arts, it's never going to go away, the physicality of it. But I think the learning experience is definitely going to enhance in ways that we can't even comprehend right now. So, for all those thinking that we're just going back to normal, I'd really look at that perspective and really think of, okay, well, how are things going to be different from here on? And how are we going to embrace this? So, there's so much good that's come from it. There's been a lot of hardship, and there's a lot of industries that are wiped out. There's a lot of things that, by no means is okay. But then there are the things that are okay. I see people are friendlier. When people see, a lot of people are more just friendly on greetings. My teenage son that used to just skate, he's spent a lot more time at home. That's been really good for us. He's been doing a lot of work around the house, which has been interesting for a 13-year-old boy to be repainting the door and doing things for money. I mean, those are little things, right? But just I think there's just so much benefit to what's happened, and it's good to just sit back and reflect and think of, right, how am I going to play my part in this next chapter moving forward?
Absolutely. I think that humans have always been very good at adapting to situations and then thriving in it, and so I'm sure back when Henry Ford was designing the first motor vehicle, everyone was that'll never exist. Like planes didn't exist, and it was just computers. We think back to when I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, not only did a computer not exist, the thought of one didn't exist. So, and how fast technology has come in a very short period. What's the next 10 to 20 years look like in this space? So, and I think you got to be open-minded enough to go, okay, I'm going to adapt to whatever comes that way, and I'll try it. And I think that, again, as martial artists, we're usually pretty good at failing forward. So we're adept at learning to fail and then get back up and go again. And so the last 2 to 3 months has been all about failing and learning. I had to reschedule my entire Zoom calendar because I did a Zoom code for every single class. That meant I got messages and notifications every day for every single class that came up. And it was just, so I just went, no, we'll have one place where we all go, and then we'll go into breakout rooms. And that took me about a week to realize that was not a great idea. So, but you learn. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's it. A simple thing that I did was actually just purchase one domain name and have one meeting link. And because I just got sick of going back and forth. What was the meeting number? What was the ID? So just create one link, one domain name, forward it there, automatic. If anybody wants to meet, you just give them the domain name, and now you've just got back-to-back meetings, however they set up.
Exactly, yeah. I learned that really quickly, and again, love learning. So it's been fun. Challenging, but fun.
That's it. Hey, Brett, well, thanks for being on the second time and us actually nailing it this time. Perfect. Thanks so much for being on. Thanks. It's always good to chat to you because you're always on top of what's happening, and you're always quick to implement and do things. If anybody wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, our website, from reddragon.com.au. Just easy enough. Facebook messages is the easiest one these days, I think. So just look me up on Facebook. It's pretty easy to find people these days. Just give me a shout out if you need any information, want any help in any direction. I do a lot of mentoring for school owners, the smaller schools that want to try and go, whether they go full-time or they're having troubles with staff and how to train up instructors. I do a lot of work on that. So I'm always available. Just hit me up, and My only thing would be, George, make sure you upload this one to the cloud right after we finish.
I was thinking that just when you were saying that, just when I was giving props about how cool this episode was, I was thinking, well, hey, I'm gonna make sure this one uploads to Google Drive now.
Absolutely, because as we've spoken in the past, I don't do retakes. The next time we interview, it'll be different again. You could redo this one straight after; it'll be different again. I'm cool. not good at sticking to scripts.
Perfect. Thanks so much for being on, Brett. And
my pleasure.
I'll speak to you soon.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
Thanks again for tuning in. Was it helpful? Did you get something of good value for your martial arts business? Then please do me a favor and let us know. Leave us a comment wherever you watched or listened to this, or just head over to iTunes and just leave us an awesome review. That way we'll know that we are on the right track, and we'll keep bringing you great shows with great interviews, sharing great strategies and tips. So if you haven't yet, now's a good time to head over to our group, martialartsmedia.group. That's the Martial Arts Media business community. I'll see you in the group, and I will see you on the next show.